When that happens, Allah will reveal to him that we have created two big nations in this world. They're so powerful and so strong that it is impossible for any man to resist, to come to combat them and to defeat them. So it is also applicable to you. You can't defeat these two great nations, but with prayers, and also if you take shelter by a mountain. Again that mountain is mentioned. So that Kashti Nu, this mountain, and the mountain of the Holy Quran, and this mountain which is mentioned in the tradition is one and the same thing. That is Allah's word, protection of Allah's word in fact. The protection which is sought within the Holy Quran. If you stick to this teaching, if you keep the Holy Quran standing behind you in the sense, not that you have deserted it, but that is, it is supporting you. That is the shelter which will save you from all the perils of the modern times. So these metaphorical statements should be carried out to the ultimate in the same spirit of metaphor. Not that suddenly you shift to a literal translation while you are speaking of metaphor all through.
The third fact is that there is a problem nowadays in the management, the worldly management, that they want to communicate the message and it doesn't go through to the people to whom they are speaking. So the research is going on in America and particularly in UK as well, that what is that triggers that message to sink into those people to whom one is speaking. And obviously they came out with many examples in the history, and they found out that it is the prophets, the other divine people who when speak, that sinks down to the people to whom that message is given. What is that power behind that which makes that message convey and goes directly into the hearts?
And the question is very simple. I'm wondering why they don't know the answer. The sway of religion over hearts does not require coercion, while the establishment of a government always requires coercions. Coercion is an integral part of a state concept. Without coercion, a state cannot come into being. So where the coercion is an essential instrument for establishing the law, there the law can only reach up to the time where coercion can accompany it. Beyond that, there are barriers which cannot be crossed. But in religion, because there is no coercion, wherever when the people who accept that the yoke of that religion, they accept it of volition. So the message travels according to their own desire of those people who receive that message. There are no artificial barriers where coercion will stop and the message will also stop along with it. So when it is a voluntary basis system, there is no need of coercion and no reason why the message should stop at any place. It has to come from the heart and sink into the heart. So if they have a message to a people who are at one with that ideology, who already believe in it, who agree and submit to it voluntarily, then such stumbling blocks will be non-existent. There will be no such research necessary at all, as we see it in Jamaat Ahmadiyya. It's a voluntary system. As long as they agree with the message and the philosophy, they have to accept whatever I tell them, or whoever is appointed to tell them, and they do it of volition, with happiness, with pleasure. the moment, if, God forbid, a religious message is wed to a temporal force, the same problems will be faced again. This is why Hazrat Muslim Maud repeatedly wrote about this, that Ahmadi Khalifa will never accept any temporal authority. He will never become sovereign of a state, because if he does it, then it will be damaging the cause of Ahmadiyyat as such.
But Huzur, in the worldly sense, this voluntary concept doesn't come through, because
I know,
yes,
it doesn't come through, so the research is useless, meaningless. Unless within the overall suprastructure of coercion and state, you find certain avenues within in which you can have a voluntary basis relationship, and that is possible in certain channels in smaller regions. And if you get to define those, then in that smaller area, of course, you will be able to negotiate voluntarily, and the message will be carried to the point where you want it to be carried.
My last point is the process of receiving the information and changing into knowledge. How do we change the simple information which we hear every day, we read from the books, how it could be converted into knowledge so that it could be imparted?
How do you differ between information and knowledge?
Huzur, information is a piece of statements drawn from the data, for example. Certain numbers are there, they don't represent anything until we put them in certain order and they give us some information. But I believe the knowledge is when we try to experience it.
No, still I can't find a dividing line between information and knowledge. Your knowledge is does not have only a positive value. Your knowledge also has a negative value. Knowledge of truth and knowledge of falsehood.
Yes.
So information can either be true or false.
Yes.
And as such it will be stored in your brain system, whether you like it or not. So everything gets stored as a memory, and that becomes your knowledge. Any information, for instance, a Maulvi says that Ahmadis are Israel's agents. You call it information.
Yes.
But that false information is received by all Ahmadis and it is stored in certain parts of the brain as a false information. And the sum total of his knowledge also contains this false information.
Yes.
Knowing it to be false, not as believing in it to be true. So in reality there is no demarcation between information and knowledge. It's only a matter of, saying things from one angle or another. So instead of going into this, put your question straightforwardly, whatever it is.
That is, this is exactly what the question is actually driving to, that how one gains knowledge. When one starts talking knowledge, it's actually the physical things one hears, that one reads a book, but he doesn't gain really the knowledge.
No, again, yes. What is the knowledge? What is knowledge?
Hazur, if I can describe it in an example, like reading the Holy Quran and knowing the verses of the Holy Quran, knowing the numbers of the verses and so on is an information to me. But the knowledge of the Holy Quran is, if God blesses me, then I can get that knowledge.
There you are extending knowledge to a completely different territory now.
Maybe into understanding.
Yes,
yes.
The faculty of understanding.
Yes.
Now you are translating knowledge as a faculty of understanding.
Right. Okay.
This is not so.
Okay. Yes. Yes. I think that's where I might be mistaken. Exactly.
Any other questions, please?